Hey guys, it is Dr. Ryan Hostler from Movement Upgraded, and today we're going to go through our daily movement routine. A routine that gets all of our joints moving throughout their entire ranges of motion. These are just basically joint circles. It's not sexy by any means, but you're going to feel great after you go through it, and this is a great opportunity for you to just get all of your joints moving and ditch the stretching. So, you don't always have to stretch every single day for the rest of your life. Normalize your joint ranges of motion and then continually use those joint ranges of motion on a day-to-day basis. If you use them, you won't lose them. It's as simple as that. Explore all of your movement options and ranges of motion, and then you'll be able to maintain it. Okay, if you decide one day that you're not going to take your hand back here or arm back there, and then you don't explore that range of motion for months or years or decades, why one day do you think that you're going to be able to fully extend your arm back there? It's common sense when you really think about it. So, we're going to take our joints through all of their ranges of motion, get them moving. It's a great way to keep your joints healthy because our joints stay healthy through movement. Movement is what gets nutrients into the joint to nourish our discs, nourish our joints, and to get waste products out of those joints. Alright? So, we're going to start from our head, we're going to work through our spine and our extremities, and we're just going to go through it. So the biggest thing that I want you guys to think about throughout this routine is that we're creating full body tension. So we're not just swinging our arms throughout all the range of motion haphazardly, we're doing this with intent. So we're creating a fist, or we're squeezing one part of our body. We're letting that tension travel through our extremity or through our spine. So we're staying rigid in certain areas and mobile through other areas. So if I ask your wrist to move, you're doing a wrist joint circle and you're not doing an elbow and wrist joint circle at the same time. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I'm going to try to give you a couple explanations throughout the video to give you guys a little bit more information. The second thing I want you to think about is how you're breathing. Breathing is the foundation of what all movement is based on. We should be able to diaphragmatically breathe. What does that mean? We should have expansion happening in our belly, 360 degrees to be exact. So when we take a breath in, our diaphragm descends down into our abdomen, our belly expands outward because of the increase in pressure, hence intra-abdominal pressure when you're trying to lift heavy. So diaphragm goes down, belly expands out to the sides, and the belly even, or our back even expands backwards. So, when I say get a big belly breath or trap air in your belly and then brace, that is what we're looking for. We're looking for you to get a big belly breath, 360 degrees of expansion, and then push your fingers outwards. Okay, so you're bracing, you're locking your spine and rib cage down. Your rib cage and pelvis are staying stacked, and we're not extending and overarching through our spine. So, first things first, we're going to get a big belly breath, 360 degrees of expansion. We're bracing our core. We're staying tight and rigid through our extremities, squeezing the glutes even. We're taking our chin down towards our chest. Chin touches the chest. We're going to rotate over to one shoulder, and we're slowly making a neck circle, fighting through all of our ranges of motion. We're going slow, slow, slow. When you think you're going slow, go a little bit slower. We're literally just making neck joint circles. That was 2 in that direction. Let's go in the opposite direction. Drag the chin to the opposite shoulder. Look over the shoulder, extending up to the ceiling, looking over to the other shoulder. Dragging the chin on the chest down to the front. And one more lap in this direction. There's 2. We're still keeping that belly breath and maintaining that tension and brace through our core. We're going to our shoulder joints. Shoulder joint circles. Up, back, down, into the front. Pull them up, squeeze them back, bring them down, roll them forwards. Up, back, down, forwards. Opposite direction is back, up, forwards, down. We're just moving through the shoulder joint now. We're not moving through our neck or through our spine. Just that scapula moving on our rib cage. We're going to go to a shoulder, and we're just going to, again, belly breath, brace, hand on the rib cage so we're not extending our spine and rib cage into the hand. So just take your hand on the lower rib cage and feel for it. Big circle, thumb's going to be pointing to the back wall, full shoulder flexion, internally rotate and sweep a big circle backwards. This is just happening through our shoulder joint now, and we're not moving through our spine or shoulder blade. Okay, so we're not hiking up throughout, and we're not letting our shoulder dump forward. So full shoulder flexion. Once we can't go anymore, we're rotating the thumb forward, internally rotating, sweeping backwards, and we're going to finish with the palm facing away from our thigh. We're going to reach backwards and the shoulder extension, externally rotate, and then sweep forwards. We'll go to the other side. So 2 on each side, shoulder flexion, internally rotate, sweep a circle backwards, back your hands against your thigh. Extension, externally rotate, and sweep a circle forwards. Again, you got the belly breath, you got the brace, you're not extending into your hand through your spine. Shoulder flexion, internally rotate, back of the hands against your thigh. Extend, externally rotate, sweep a circle forwards. Alright, we've looked at our neck, shoulder blades, and shoulder joint. Let's look at our elbow. Hands down to the side. Fight through all the range of motion. Hands come up to your shoulders. Rotate the hands away. Bring them down. Bring them up. Rotate hands towards you. Bring them down. Up. Rotate away. Down. Up. Rotate towards. Extend down. So that was looking at the elbow. This is the more tricky one. We're going to try moving our wrist without the elbows. So if you can do both at the same time and just fight through all of your range of motion that you have at the wrist without compensating at the elbow, then go for it. If you have to hold one down, that's totally fine too. Couple circles in each direction, fighting through all of your range of motion. Making sure we're not moving through the elbow. And there you have it. So we've looked at the neck, the shoulder blade, the shoulder joint. We've looked at the elbows. We've looked at the wrist. We move our fingers around enough, so I'm not too worried about those. Let's get our feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart and look at our entire spine now. So this one's kind of goofy. We're going to give ourselves a hug. Squeeze that butt because we're not moving through the hips now. We're just moving through our spine. I'll show you from the front and from the sides. We're going to round through our entire spine. Rotate to one side. Extend back as far as you can and rotate down to the other side. Try not to move through those hips. Move through all of your spine though. That upper back and the lower back. And really fight for it, you guys. It's tough. And it should be for a reason. So I'm going to show you from the side. Feet a little bit wider than shoulder width. Butt squeezed. Give ourselves a hug, rounding through the back as far as you can go, all the way through the lower back. Rotate to one side, extend and bend to that side, and extend all the way back. Rotate to the other side, and then down to the front. We would go a couple in each direction. I'm just going to show you one in the opposite. Rotate, bend, start extending. Use the neck to even look up to the ceiling. Rotate down to the other side. Whew. Alright, you guys, let's look at the hips now. So we move the spine, let's move our hips without the spine. So still, feet a little bit wider than the shoulder width apart, hinge back, and we're just doing hip circles. So kind of like you're doing a hula hoop, just the hip circle, spine's not moving, and opposite direction. I'll show you from the side as well. Most people want to move through their lower back instead of being able to move through their hips. So, from the side, butt goes back. We're moving through the hip joints, not through our lower back. Alright, and that was a closed chain hip joint circle. So we were moving our pelvis over a fixed femur, or the fixed leg. Now we're going to move a leg or our femur over a fixed pelvis. So we're going to look at an open chain movement. So that looks like this. Flexion, abduction, internal rotation, and extension. Abduction, flexion, abduction, internal rotation, and extension. Adduction. Opposite direction would be extension, abduction, external rotation, flexion, adduction. And we're going to go to the other side. Only go as large of a circle as you can without moving through the back. So I'll show you from the side. Most people want to do weird things with their back when they're doing this. So try to lock the back down with that belly breath in the brace and just move through that hip joint. Your circle can start nice and small. Nobody's judging you, but it'll slowly get bigger and your range of motion will expand over time. Let's go ahead and get on the ground. We're going to go through a cat-cow, or just spinal segmentation, just moving our low back, then our mid-back, then our upper back, then our neck. So we have all of these individual joints in our spine. Most people just move in clumps of their spine. So a big chunk will move at a time, and then another chunk will move at a time. Each individual vertebra that we have has individual joints, and we should be able to move all of those individual joints using the muscles along our spine. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to isolate the movement down to those individual joints rather than just doing one big global movement. So instead of doing a cat-cow where you're just dumping into full extension and full flexion, just like that, we're going to try to think about moving the pelvis, moving our low back, moving our upper back, and then moving our neck, and then going in the opposite direction. So, pelvis, lower back, mid back, upper back, and then the neck, upper back, mid back, lower back, pelvis, lower back, mid back, upper back, neck, upper back, mid back, lower back, and pelvis. Alright, you guys, there you have it. So we've looked at basically everything except the lower extremity. So we have the knee. The knee has not only the knee joint, which is your femur and your lower legs, or your tibia and fibula, but it also has the kneecap. So our kneecap should be able to move in every single direction, side to side, up and down, and diagonals, and it should move smoothly. So if you're stuck in one direction, all you really need to do is mobilize that joint in the direction that it's stuck. But if you keep this thing moving nicely every single day, you should have good patellofemoral joint motion, and you should maintain it. Do that side to side, so wiggle it side to side, up and down, and in diagonals. Our tissues remodel based on the forces and inputs they have. So if it's stuck in a diagonal, literally just putting force in that direction will help improve the tissue mobility and remodeling of that tissue for the long term. Our knee also should flex should extend, but it should also rotate out and in. So my foot, yes, it looks like it's moving, but my ankle is actually locked out, and that rotation is happening at the knee, in and out. So we can take our hand, we can lock that knee down into place, and we can externally rotate the knee out, and we can extend the knee all the way up, rotate the knee in, and flex it. We can go in the opposite direction, just like that. So these are coupled motions of the knee, and they're all essential for knee joint health. And we can go to the opposite knee. We can rotate out, extend up, and bring it back. Extend up with it in, rotate it out. And there you have it, that's the knee. When it comes to the ankle, we can just stay in this position and make a big ankle joint circle while not moving through the knee.